Down, you may remember Mohegan Sun and Foxwoods reopened sooner than the governor wanted them to. Now, they're sovereign tribal nations, so they can do that. But now Governor Lamont is saying he thinks the casinos are doing a good job. Despite being located in the COVID hot zone region of the state, Mohegan Sun told Fox 61 they've identified fewer than 50 COVID cases among employees for the duration of the pandemic. After a trial run last week, they are working with Yale to establish on-site COVID testing.
We hope that we will have it over the course of the next 60 days. There's still a lot of work to be done with that, but on-site testing is something that strategically we think is very, very important.
Hamilton told Fox 61 their advanced security camera network established to monitor casino activity has a dual benefit, doubling as an invaluable contact tracing tool.
We know where everyone has been. We, can record how close they are to someone and for how long, and then identify people that they've come in close contact with.
Mohegan says they've been quick to enforce safety at their restaurants, shops, and retailers, closing about half a dozen at various times out of an abundance of caution.
At one of our tenant retailers, we had a team member that worked in there, and a close contact of theirs was positive. They were not positive. We made the decision to close that tenant operation until we could get everyone tested.
Phase 3 of Connecticut's reopening allows entertainment venues to reopen. On Friday, rival Foxwoods announced they will bring back live entertainment at 25% capacity. Mohegan evaluating week to week.
We don't feel at this time, you see what's happening in the local community, and we see what's happening in the state. And I know the governor has come out with phase 3, and there is the ability to have live entertainment. That we're, from a pandemic perspective, we believe that we can do that safely.
Foxwoods did not make anyone available for an interview today. And it's worth mentioning that while Mohegan Sun is putting the health and safety of their guests and team members first, the casino's financial health has also taken a hit. Hamilton told me they did better than expected during the summer months, but now that we're in the fall, they are seeing a decline in revenue. Reporting for the Fox 61 News, I'm Matt Carrot.